What is this thing called love? This funny thing called love. It's gotta be love. It couldn't be tonsillitis. It feels like neuritis, but nevertheless it's love. I love your kind of kindness too, the little things you say and do, but most of all, the fact that you make me yes, to dance beneath the diamond sky, with one hand waving free, silhouetted by the sea, circled by the circus sands, with all memory and fate driven deep beneath the waves. Let us forget about today until tomorrow. Hey, feeling I'll never be found, and there you are.
Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. We're a little earlier today than we normally are, but I have 5 incredible women waiting in the wings to talk about what we're going through right now in the world. This is not going to be a downer of a show. We are here to uplift each other. So for the next hour, I would like you all to take a collective deep breath. Let's focus on the gifts that each and every one of us are given. And let's talk about how we're able to create art through these difficult times. This show today, I think, is a very important show because so many of us are experiencing what we're going through together. Yes, there are some that are facing it a little bit deeper than we are, but we've got to take the time to pause and take care of each other. Otherwise, we're not going to get through this. And we are all in this together on some level. I'm very excited about our first guest today. That, of course, was Ann Kittredge. And Ann Kittredge is about to do her show at Don't Tell Mama, celebrating 10 years in cabaret. And it feels like it was just yesterday that she was just getting started. But here she is. Hello, Ann. Welcome to the show.
Oh gosh, I just love you. I just love you. Really.
I love you more. So, Ann, as I said, we do know what's going on in the world right now, but I want to focus on some positives today for the next hour. And besides your show that's coming up, which we are going to talk about, who or what are you celebrating today?
My husband's last day at work is today. He is retiring. So starting tomorrow, yes, we're going to see a lot of each other.
Well, don't you feel that COVID prepared you for this?
Yeah. Oh, totally. It was a really good, test run, and we did great. We really did. But it's still. I mean, we're really feeling mostly very optimistic and very excited. But it's one of the biggest chapters of your life, and you don't know it until it comes. It's like, wow, like you're retiring? Like it's crazy. I mean, he's got these wonderful projects that he wants to do, which is why he's retiring. But still, it's like, oh, yeah.
Well, it's funny. I'm about to turn 65 in 12 days. So yesterday I did the Medicare thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's a pain in the neck.
I mean, first of all, the 2 people that I spoke with on the phone, they were just absolutely adorable. And they were both Aquarians. So we were celebrating the fact. And one of them had just turned 65 himself. So it was a very interesting conversation yesterday. But again, it's like all of a sudden, there are these steps that are taking place in our lives that you realize we're not going back anytime soon. And
No.
you're about to reflect on 10 years of performing in cabaret.
Yes, I couldn't believe it either. I mean, I think the pandemic made things feel different because obviously there wasn't a lot going on during the pandemic. But yeah, I was kind of shocked too. And I just, there's such a learning curve in any art form. Let's just face it. But there was a huge one for me in cabaret because I was such a theater proscenium stage person. Like I really, 2,000 people in the audience, and this is completely different. And so, um, when I look back at my shows, I really sucked when I began. I
No, you didn't.
I
No.
did. And
The
and I
perfection is trying not to find the perfection.
well, maybe that's true, but, I've learned so much, and I'm glad that I can look back and laugh and go, "Oh my god, I can't believe I did that." But, and now I feel like I have the greatest people around me, and the biggest thing is, whatever angst I am carrying with what's going on in the world, I have made a decision, and I really thought about this a lot. I have made a decision that that's not my role when I'm on stage. It is, it's, I have nothing more to add to that conversation that is going to benefit the people who have come to what I have to expect is a little relief from everything, right?
Mhm.
And it's like, that's going to be my job. Now, could I change that if, the Gestapo starts coming in and taking people off the stage? Sure, I could, I could. But right now, I really, I think our gifts should be used to give people a respite from it all.
Well, it's very interesting. Yesterday, I was watching The View, and they did a topic on celebrity voices and whether, I love your mug, by the way, celebrity voices and whether or not celebrities should speak out. Sonny Hostin said, I believe that if you're a celebrity, you're obligated to speak out. And Whoopi Goldberg said, and I agreed with Whoopi on this debate, I totally disagree with you. Some people are not prepared to speak out. None of us know what other people are walking through on a daily basis.
Mhm.
And I, quite frankly, do not want to be the catalyst for being a trigger for someone when I'm on stage.
Right.
And so I hope that with my shows, that audiences come for the escape. And
Yes. And
yes,
not because we share the same political or religious or social ideas. I mean, you know that I'm a Buddhist, and I belong to this United Nations organization called Soka Gakkai International, and they're a non-government organization of the United Nations. And one of their primary tools, because their whole goal in life is to spread peace, right? And
mhm,
their primary use is culture, because culture, singing, music, art, you don't have to agree on something political to get something really deep and wonderful out of it.
absolutely. And we're going to bring our next guest on in just a moment. But before we do, I want to ask you, when did you first realize that taking care of your health was essential, not optional, to sustaining your artistic life?
It was in college. Yeah, there was a real craze for people to be in shape. And, the first couple of years of college, I don't know most people, but for me, that was when I gained weight. That's when I got, was staying up all night and then sleeping all day and all those different weird things. But then, like around junior year, it was like, okay, if I'm going to take this career seriously, I guess I better start, getting in shape. And I've been doing it ever since.
That's great. Well, and we're going to bring on our next guest. As you know, I always ask you to bring on the next guest. So pick a number 1 through 4. They don't know who they are, but I hope they're all ready.
I love number 3.
Well, I'm excited about bringing her on the show because she is a new friend. I belong to this group now on LinkedIn, and it's really a networking group for the LGBTQ community. And the other day, and we're reaching out to each other and finding out how can we support each other. And I reached out to Shanti Joy Gold, and she said, let's do a Zoom call. And we did the Zoom call, and then I asked her if she would come on the show. It was then that she said, well, what's the topic going to be? You telling me I'm telling the truth. And I pulled a card from my box of topics that goes in there.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, health. So let's talk about health and well-being. So Shanti, welcome to the show. Meet Anne.
Hi, Shanti.
Hello.
It looks like I have a book I need to read.
We can carry the conversation forward with what we're talking about, or you can take us in a completely different direction. It's all up to you.
Oh, goodness. Well, I'm just so excited to be here. And, for me, I actually was thinking about this quite a bit. It's a pinch me moment because I've spent most of my career in corporate. It's only the past couple of years that I took this pivot, and which includes the podcast that I host. And then when I saw the lineup of people that are guests today and the amazing depth of artistic talent, I really did a double take and said, what me, and so, I love my podcast and I know it's creative, but it was actually the first moment it hit me that it's art, and that made me feel good. And I have such a long history in my life, back to when I was a kid, to being exposed to art. I'm very fortunate to have a mom and a dad that are very into music, that took me to theater. My grandmother, if I went to see her, which I did all the time in Florida, dinner theater all the time, and local productions. And I am just such an admirer of the arts and have experienced firsthand the healing effects of it. So I just couldn't be more excited to be here.
Well, I'm thrilled that you're here. And on your website, you have your biography. So people can go and check that out and learn about the journey that brought you to this moment. But you were very much in the corporate world,
Yes.
You and your wife.
Mhm.
I'm not giving away any secrets that are not on the website, but you were in a relationship for quite some time before you felt comfortable enough to share that with the other people that you were working with. And now you've got this podcast where you're allowing everybody to share their stories. What was the light bulb moment for you when you decided, I want to do a podcast and I want to let other people share their stories?
Yeah. So, yes, it was almost 10 years that my now wife and I were actively hiding our relationship at work. After which, when I switched jobs, I had these coming out moments. I decided I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to share my story. And I had these two coming out conversations that were pretty ridiculously not good and funny in retrospect. But I got it out there, so to speak, literally. And then gradually over the course of time came out to a wider professional circle. And then it wasn't until I pivoted into this chapter of my career and started doing my coaching and kind of came full circle to the realization that the people I most wanted to serve is guiding LGBTQ plus and underrepresented people to confidently thrive in their careers by being fully themselves. I wanted to share that on LinkedIn and realized I had never come out on LinkedIn. So I did a post where I came out on LinkedIn. I shared those two coming out at work stories, and the response to that from two people who know me very well, friends who are very open-minded, said, I had absolutely no idea you went through that. And also, it never even occurred to me as a straight white man, straight white woman, two friends, that anyone had to go through that, because it's not in my line of sight. And so I so appreciate that you shared that. It's great to know that. I wish there were a place to learn more of these stories. And I thought, well, that was a cool, unexpected response. And I sat with that for a while. And that's really where the seed for the idea for the podcast was born.
That's great. We're going to bring on the next guest in just a moment. But before I do, I want to ask you, how has your definition of success changed as you've learned to prioritize your well-being along with your creativity?
100%. I've, like many of us, had moments of experiencing burnout, and I received clarity from those moments as well. And really all of that pointed to doing things in my life that really light me up, that I can excel at and make a contribution in. But if I'm fulfilled and happy and well and thriving, then the rest will follow.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you're in the Monty Hall seat today. Door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3?
Oh, let's go with door number 1, please.
Door number 1, and a fairly new friend in my life, but she's also going to be a Don't Tell Mama. She has a show coming up called Jewish Caroling. I love this. The only disappointment that I have is that Carol Channing is not represented in this show. And tomorrow's Carol's birthday. So welcome to the show, Debbie. Deborah, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you, Richard. Thank you. If Carol Channing had been Jewish, believe me, she would have been part of the show.
Well, I will share this.
Uh-oh.
Her first and second husbands were both Jewish.
Well, that does not surprise me. Nor does it make her Jewish.
I know she used to perform these Jewish songs in her show because she said that she just gravitated to that world.
Yep.
So, but not only are you a cabaret entertainer, but you're also a rabbi.
I am.
Yes.
I was ordained in 1982. I was one of the first 50 women in America ordained as a rabbi.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a very long time ago.
So how did that prepare you for the cabaret career that you have?
Oh, it was a perfect preparation. First of all, the doing research, learning, constant learning is, I think, very important for the cabaret world. Being easy in public places with people, not only presenting yourself, but anticipating what their needs are in the moment. I think that's a really important part of cabaret. Being prepared for heckling.
Now, Deborah,
yes,
you've never been heckled.
No, but I've had people who in the middle of a show will, respond to something on stage, and I can't get rattled by that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, nor have I been heckled in the sanctuary when I was on the Bima. But if I can, I would tell a funny story about that that I'm actually going to tell on February 8th at the show. So I did this show 5 years ago in the depths of the pandemic. I had to postpone it for a year. And then in 2021, I finally presented it. And as you will recall, because you were very important in making sure that we stayed healthy and home. I remember that very well. I did a PSA for you.
I know you did. Yes.
My first connection with you. And so after we did the show at Don't Tell Mama, Tracy Stark, my wonderful music director, and I started traveling with the show around the country to a few places. A lot of places weren't ready to do stuff, but a few were, and mostly synagogues. We went to Connecticut, and I started doing the first song, and all of a sudden a woman raised her hand and said, "I must say something now." And I thought, but this is a show. What? I was like, what? And so she said, "I must say something now." I said, "Can't it wait till the end of this song?" She said, "No, I must say it now." Okay. She said, "This synagogue is where Carole King's family belongs, and her father was buried from this sanctuary." And then she pointed to the piano and where Tracy was sitting, and she said, "And Carole King played at the funeral."
Wow.
So she had to tell me this.
In the middle of the first song.
In the middle of the first song. Yeah. So luckily I did not freak out because I was accustomed to people saying things.
I'll tell you, those who know me very well know that for 20 years, I performed as Carol Channing.
Yes.
And I was doing a show one day in Riverdale, and I start to do the Ephraim Let Me Go speech at the beginning of Before the Parade Passes By. And I walked to the footlights and I went, "Ephraim," and a voice from the audience yelled, "What?" And Carol, Carol was a good friend of mine. She laughed about it. She
Yeah.
said, "What are the chances of finding an Ephraim in the audience?"
Seriously.
In Riverdale, not bad.
Oh,
Not
so
bad.
I mean, why? I mean, you're this show again is a show that you have really, traveled around with. You're bringing it back to Don't Tell Mama. What has changed within you since you first started celebrating these women?
Well, I think I have a deeper appreciation for each of them. Their music feels like it's part of me. Their stories feel like they are a part of me. I have been so blessed when I've traveled with the show to get people's responses. I mean, as you can imagine, Carol King, more than the other two, evokes a tremendously emotional chord for a lot of people. And so that has, I think that's deepened and enriched my presentation of the show. I hope that I feel a whole lot more comfortable with it than I did 5 years ago. I say to Tracy, because I don't have the 75-minute limit that you have at Don't Tell Mama. So I have a tendency to kibitz a little bit more, like a little chatting and a little more stories, the things I know, whatever. So I'm going to have to actually, it's funny. We have to,
My secret is to just tell Tracy
yes.
That when you go on a little too long, to bring you back home.
Start playing. Yeah, no, it's very true. It's very true. Actually, we have done this show in a variety of venues where we've had to do a 30-minute version of it, a 50-minute version of it, and the full 75-minute version of it. So it's been interesting. But I truly love doing it. And the thing about this particular version is that I am going to be doing it as a fundraiser, albeit a modest fundraiser, for the synagogue in Jackson, Mississippi, that was torched by arson on January 10th.
I'm going to be out of town, but I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make a contribution.
Thank you.
Yes.
Me too.
God bless you for doing that. I want to bring our next guest, but before we do, I want to ask you, what habits or rituals help you stay grounded and healthy when you're in the middle of the creative process?
Is that for all of us?
That's for you.
In the middle of the creative process, knowing that there will be an end, having that focus, that there will be a show. This is something that I loved about being a rabbi. There were no incompletes. You couldn't say, "Oh, congregation, I didn't get a chance to do the sermon, so I'm just gonna skip that. I'll do it next week." It had to be done. And that sharpens the focus when you know it has to be done. It also takes away the perfection aspect. This will not be the be all and end all of everything I ever do. This will be in the moment, and what I do, because I've given it my authentic self, it will be good enough. And sometimes it will be great, but not always. And I'm okay with that.
Well, on the right side of your screen, you'll see where it says private chat. If you can put in the details for how everybody else can make a contribution, I will include that on the show.
Oh, that's lovely. Okay.
So we can get that on. But you're going to bring on our next guest, door number 1 or door number 2?
Oh, well, let's see. I think door number 1.
Well, she's also going to be at Don't Tell Mama. Yes, it's the Don't Tell Mama theme tonight. She's doing a show called Everything. And her artwork, everything in her life. And we're going to celebrate her right now. Terry, welcome to the show.
Hi. I'm so happy to be here. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So, again, you can talk about anything that we've talked about, or you can take us in your own direction.
Yeah, I'm listening to all the stories, and it's absolutely great. And I've been touching upon what everybody has been saying. But I'm a little, excited to be here, a little nervous. And just to bring into, we talked about like being grounded and what makes me happy, or I think the excitement and the celebration of what I celebrate is the people that I've surrounded myself recently, my family, my friends, but then this new whole cabaret community that I'm learning about so many different people and feeding off of them, and just everybody being so inviting and warm and cuddly. It's like, I wasn't expecting that. I wanted to do this like 35 years ago. I was a theater person, and went to school for that and whatever. And then life took me in a different direction. When my mother said, you need to fall back on something. And, I did. And I went back to school, and I
Now,
became.
this is not the first time you've done this show.
This is my encore. So my very first, it's my debut show that I did it in October, November, December. And
Great reviews.
Great reviews, sold out, yay. And everybody's like, you need to do it again. There are other people who haven't seen it yet. So there I am, and this is my encore show. Yeah, great reviews. I was so nervous about it too, because I didn't do this so long ago, because when I learned I had to write patter and things like that, I was like, I can't do that. What? And then, 35 years later, I'm like, okay, let's just do this, just rip it off and just go ahead and do it and dive into it. And here I am. So I started doing it because, I had gone to a workshop and then COVID happened. And then I got back into it, and then I had lost my job. And I'm like, this is the perfect time to do it, because I don't have to worry about work. I just have to worry about the work and the creative process. And that's why I did it. And I'm happy I did it, because it was something I've always wanted to do.
And the show is simply called Everything.
Everything.
But everything is not just simple. So how did you come up with this title?
It started with the song Everything from A Star Is Born, the Barbra Streisand version.
Yes.
And I sang it in a class one day, and I was like, that should be your show. And I just started thinking, like, okay, we could do that and work around it. And then it becomes like, it's everything, what everything means, what my everything means to me. So it's a lot of stories about my family, my friends, work, love life, and then just how the process happens to get to the point and the whole circle of the show.
Well, Terry, since you are essentially the new kid on the block, and as far as cabaret is concerned in today's show, I'm always curious as to how you found cabaret. What was your introduction to this world?
So about in my early 20s, I used to go to Brandy's and, listen to everybody there. And there was a waitress that was there that was a cabaret person, and she was lovely and wonderful. And
Her name?
Celeste.
Yes.
And she did
vocal coach.
Yeah, I don't think she remembers who I am, but because
she may be watching. She's a neighbor of mine. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And she did a class at Turtle Bay Music School, and I took the class. And I remember she did a show. I think it was upstairs at Green Street. It was, when the more cabaret venues were around. And I went with my dad, and I got her little cassette, and I played it over and over. And that's when I took her class. And then when I thought I had it, when I found out I had to talk about me or whatever, that's when I panicked. I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. Because playing a role, like being a character in a play or something, so much easier than being yourself. And that's how that started. And then skip to 35 years later, I did running for a charity, Leukemia Lymphoma Society, and they have this this event where it's called Woman of the Year, and whoever raises the most money in a 10-week thing wins Woman of the Year. So everybody was doing beer pong and all the, little fun little things. And I was like, well, let's put on a cabaret. And I knew Sue Matsuki from my younger days. And I'm like, you do these, shows. Can you help me out? She helped me out. I met Lena Katrakis, and I did a couple workshops, and then COVID hit, and I was like, okay, this is hard anyway. And we raised a lot of money for the show, which was great. And then 5 years later, here I am.
God bless you. That's wonderful. And Deborah got the information, so I will get that posted before the show's over. Well, we're going to bring on our next guest. She's waiting patiently in the wings. She's actually, Anne, you and I have something in common, and that's that you and I have both appeared on the Donald Feltham show. And I just absolutely adore that man. By the way,
it's wonderful.
We recorded it. My episode airs on Sunday.
Woo!
Music of Jerry Herman. But I was listening a few weeks ago, and Kristen, I'm going to bring her on. Kristen Stoltz Presley was on the show, and I absolutely fell in love with her. And we started texting each other as I was listening to the show. It's always pre recorded for those who don't listen already. And there were so many aha moments that Kristen and I both shared, including that we both grew up in South Carolina. And Deborah, this is someone you need to know because she has just written a book about Dorothy Fields. And of course, yes. And the book is incredible. I have 3 friends that are doing shows about Dorothy Fields, and I sent them all copies of your book.
Did you, Madeline Warren? That's the person I'm thinking of. Who she's doing it again in March.
Right.
Wow.
And Goldie DeVere has a show coming up.
That's so exciting.
So, Kristen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I have so enjoyed listening to all of you talk about your journeys. And what has been so interesting to me is how none of you, it doesn't sound like, took a straight route to where you ended up. And I certainly didn't either. I'm a theater historian by trade. I thought I would be an actor like probably everybody on this panel. I thought that's what I would do, and ended up realizing early on after I graduated from Furman University, Richard, in my hometown of Greenville, South Carolina, realizing I am not only do I hate to audition, but I am really bad at it. So I need to find another way to participate in this world of theater. And just through fits and starts, I came to theater history and fell absolutely in love with it. And so I've been doing that since, 2003. I'm working now on my 4th book. Richard was so kind to mention my book about Dorothy Fields, which came out in 2021. And then I've just, in September, released the Pulitzer Prize winning musicals and jukebox musicals. And next is one that I'm very excited about, Golden Age musicals. So that's what I'm currently at work on. So certainly, Hello, Dolly is one of those chapters, Richard, and I am coming straight to you for all the information.
Wow.
You should check out Michael Levine too.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Just absolutely incredible. One of the things that, talk about these aha or similarity moments. Growing up in a small town, my parents used to drop me off at the library on Saturday afternoons when they were doing their errands. And the first thing that I would run to was to get the preceding week's Sunday New York Times. And I would look at the Hirschfeld, and I would count the Ninas, and then I would find out everything that was going on Broadway. And you had almost a similar story with finding these books on the world of entertainment. You didn't pursue, or perhaps you did, and I don't know this, a career as a performer and entertainer. So what is it about the history of the theater that fascinates you so much?
You know what? That's such a great question. I remember being I just think sometimes we are hardwired from birth to do things. And it's weird because typically you think that would be something like performing or songwriting or something like that. But for me, I remember as a very little girl, my grandmother had my great-grandmother's Steinway piano in her dining room. And on that piano, she had multiple copies of Reader's Digest songbooks. You remember those? Like real easy arrangements of classic, Golden Age, Great American Songbook songs. And at the top of them, it would have, of the top of each song sheet, it would have a paragraph about the history of the song. That's where I was introduced to Dorothy Fields at probably 6 years old, but it was in my brain, but didn't come out until graduate school when I was thinking, what am I going to write about? But I read about Dorothy Fields in that book, but I read about all of these shows. And at the time it meant nothing to me other than I was 6, 7, 8 years old reading at my grandmother's piano. But it stayed in my bones, and it remained something that just fascinated me. So as much as I enjoyed going to the theater and I enjoyed being a part of theater, it was really, I think early on, something attached to me about learning the backstories of these shows and why they were written and who wrote them and all the pieces that came together. In fact, my 2 most recent books and the one that I'm currently at work on, that's what I do. I take these great shows. So in the case of the Pulitzer Prize winning musicals, the 10 musicals that have won the Pulitzer Prize for drama, and I do a deep dive into the history of it. So instead of that little paragraph in that Reader's Digest songbook at my grandmother's piano, it's now, 15,000 words about the development of The I Sing or Rent or whatever the show might be. And I don't know what it is that attached to me with those, but it was definitely hardwired for me at a very early age. And then Richard, to your point, this story, but I used to, he's talking about spending time in libraries, and I used to go to the Greenville County Library and pick up cast recordings. And that's how I learned the canon of musical theater. And I would be curious to hear from all of you cabaret singers, how did you learn? How do you go about learning the canon? How do you choose which songs to put into your shows? Because that's something I've never done. So I'm curious to hear about that.
Let's talk about that. Anne, answer that question. How do you go about choosing the songs for your show? And I do know this, you have an incredible collaborative team that works with you.
That's it. We brainstorm. We just throw things out, and we'll throw literally, not exaggerating, hundreds of songs. And then just some of them stick, or one person believes in it so much. And so we're like, okay, we'll try it. It helps to have a theme, but I've yet to have a theme before I've chosen a few songs. It seems like I don't know what I want to do.
How do you choose from 10 years?
Oh, well, that was easy because I just went back and I'm representing every show I did. And I'm also doing something new because I'm like, okay, I don't want to just be talking about the past. There's a forward, there's a future. So yeah, no, that was actually easy. It was hard insofar as there wasn't much from my first show that I would ever want to sing that way again. But we found one, and yeah, so.
That's great. Deborah? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Anne.
No, but I did want to say about the library thing. The library was a big part of my childhood too. Huge part of it. And my dad and I we were thieves because we would take out music books and we would make copies of them.
Oh no.
Now, I know that the people who do this are not watching this show, but for those who are spending time trying to ban books in libraries, spend the same amount of time trying to get kids into the library.
Yeah.
It would be very different. So Deborah, same question for you.
Well,
a show together.
So interestingly, my first show was a memoir show, as so many debut shows are. But the next 2 shows were both tribute shows because I love doing the research. Mm-hmm. And so I look for a connection. So Jewish caroling kind of just fell out of my head, 3 Jewish songwriters named Carol. Oh, right. My next show, which I did with my son, was called Family Matters. And that was 3 generations of, for me, the first family of musical theater, Richard Rodgers, Mary Rodgers, and Adam Gettle.
Incredible show.
Thank you very much. So our 2 generations celebrated their 3 generations. My next show, which I'm working on for hopefully October, is called Broadway Bible. And that show is a series of stories from Genesis and Exodus that are punctuated by show tunes.
Wow.
So I'll give you
representing the shows such as 2 by 2.
I am including the 3 shows that are based on biblical and not 2 by 2, but Apple Tree and Joseph and
Jesus Christ.
No, not my religion.
Oh yes. Okay.
Oh my gosh, Joseph, Apple Tree, and Children of Eden.
Oh, wow.
No, but I'll give you an example of what happens in Broadway Bible. So Abraham discovers that there is one unseen God in the universe, and he muses to himself, "There's a somebody I'm longing to see. I hope that he turns out to be someone to watch over me." That's the kind of thing that this show is about.
Well, I love it. Terry, same question for you.
When I was looking for songs, it was, everybody it really is about a lyric that you connect with. Sorry, my dog is barking. When you connect with that lyric. And there was also songs that I've always wanted to sing. And I just had a eclectic, and I do have an eclectic bunch of songs in the show. Like there's no rhyme or reason of, from a lyricist or anything like that. It's how I connected to the song, and then realizing there's tons of stories behind the song. I do have concepts for the next possible show, after the encore show. And it may be a tribute show, it may not. I kind of like having the conversations with the audience, and really the thing that I was so afraid of doing is actually, I like it. I enjoy it. I'm having fun with it. So I haven't decided.
You're good at it, Terry. You're
Yeah.
really good at
That's
it.
my favorite
Thank you.
part of
Thank
it.
you.
Shantae, I want to get back to you for a moment. How long have you been doing the podcast?
I'm in my second season. I started in September of 2024.
When I started doing my podcast, I started during COVID, and I was doing pretty much 7 shows a week, which was exhausting.
Wow.
That's what got me through COVID. Every night I read the books, I did the research, I did everything to get me there. And I burned out. That's why I only do this show once a week. And I love this format. But if you ever had to step back or slow down for the sake of your health, and what did that pause teach you about how you proceed?
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer that specifically with the podcast. When I launched the podcast, I was doing it twice a month. And the reality is I love it. I love doing it. I love prepping. I love the time with the guests. Strangely, surprisingly to me, I love the editing, right? It's just a joy. And so I was doing it twice a month. And what I found was it was just taking up a disproportionate amount of my calendar. And it did start to get away from me a little bit, to where now I'm starting to feel the pressure to keep up. And the whole idea with this for me is the show itself, and hopefully the impact of the conversations, but also how much I was enjoying it. So as I started to feel a little bit of pressure associated with it, and realized how much of my calendar it was dominating, which added more stress, I took a pause, took some time off to refresh, and I decided to come back and do it monthly. And, I'm a recovering type A. It goes against every instinct I have, what's going to happen with my numbers. And I just decided to let that all go so that I could get back to just enjoying the heck out of it. And that's the space I'm in right now.
That's great. And Kristen, I want to get back to you for a moment. As a writer, and the fact that you spend, because I know the research that you put into your books, how do you recognize burnout in yourself? And what signals tell you it's time to recalibrate?
When I know that I am burned out, when it's not fun. And by that, I mean, there are a few things on the planet that excite me more than when I'm digging in a newspaper archive and I'm finding, oh my gosh, listen to this. And look at what Richard Rogers said about that. And listen, when it just takes off in bursts for me. That energizes me no end. But when I find that I'm not excited about it, like I find something really cool in the archive and I'm like, yeah, what? I don't want to write that down. I don't want to take the time to write that down. It's time for me to take a minute, right? I need to take a minute and rest and step away from my computer and maybe even take a couple of days away, right? I don't want to lose the wonder, because if I allow myself to lose the wonder as I'm researching, I'm going to lose some really amazing nuggets that might not otherwise be mined out of the historical record, right? So I have to be mindful of not overdoing, right? You have to, like in anything, you have to stay at the top of your game. And for me, that means I have a tendency, I'm a mom of 2 boys who are 12 and 13 who I homeschool. So they're with me all the time. And I love that. But that takes a lot of my time. And so I have a tendency to let's do all the boys' things. And then I get to my thing at the end of the day, which gives me a much smaller window where I'm at my best. So I have to really keep myself in check, that I'm not coming to the work exhausted because I want to do my best, not only because we all want to be the best and do the best, but because I think these creators that I'm trying to somehow bring back to life, I think they deserve the best, right? We want to represent them in the most accurate way. And I'm not going to do that if I'm too tired to even take a note. And there have been times when I'm like, oh, I can't write another thing. I'm just not doing it. And that's my cue. Go to bed, go watch King of Queens, go do something else, and then start again tomorrow.
I love that. And that's the perfect segue for my question for you. I mean, you're also a mother of two, although they're a little bit older than Kristen's. You now have a retired husband, and you're in a business that pretty much for all of us who do what we do often rewards overwork. How do you set boundaries that protect your physical, your emotional, and your mental health?
It's taken me most of my life to figure that out. I have to be honest with you. This is a very new thing for me. But, because I've lived my life like an Energizer bunny. And I have all these rules, and all these different things. And my husband laughs. Well, okay, that's another rule of your mother's. But I think that one of the things I've learned in cabaret is that this talk about perfection. Well, what is your criteria to get there? Because I think the best shows I've done have been messy, but I was so present and I was so comfortable about, even if I made a mistake, most of the time they don't know it and all these different things. Well, how do I get there? Because if I'm working like an Energizer bunny, then my stress level is up here. And so when I go on stage, I'm going to be so uptight about making sure that I do things instead of engaging and just telling the stories and all those things like that. And I finally have been figuring out how to do that, to just be like, work as hard as you can. I rehearse a lot. I work so hard. Up until the moment they announce me backstage, I'm going, okay, yeah, just let it all go, see what happens. And that really has made a difference for me as a performer.
That's great.
Hey, Richard, could I piggyback on what Anne was saying?
Sure, absolutely.
Because I've experienced the same thing. In addition to being a writer, I'm a lecturer. So I go around to theaters and lecture before performances of musicals. And I find that my best lectures are the ones I feel the least prepared for, which is so ironic. But it's when I think, Anne, what you're saying, when I just have to say, okay, maybe I didn't have the time to get this in the shape that I thought I wanted it to be in. That's when I trust what I know, right? When I just have to kind of like, okay, here goes nothing. And those are always the best shows because I'm trusting what I know and the years of preparation, right?
Yes.
And that's what I hear in what you're saying is that same experience that I have.
That's great. Thank you for adding that in.
Like trust the 10,000 hours.
That's right. Exactly.
I want to recommend, if you're not already familiar, all of you and those of you who are watching, Julia Cameron, The Artist Way. The Artist Way is a way of life for me. And one of the things that Julia Cameron talks about in her book is having an artist date at least once a week. And that's a date where you go off by yourself to see a show, go to a museum, go to a restaurant, read a magazine, read a book, read one of Kristen's books, just, taking that artist date for yourself. And that brings me to the question that I have for you, Shanti. What role does joy or play have in maintaining your overall well-being when it comes to having that moment of time that you give to the world through your podcast?
Yeah, the theme as I came into this chapter for myself after a lot of inner searching was, you got this, go play. So Kristen, it kind of speaks to what you're saying, just relying on what you got and go play, because, everything that we're talking about, I'd spent a lot of years being very serious and overworking, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really what I try to bring into the podcast. It really echoes what other women have been saying. The best thing I can do is just show up and be present. And if I can be present and create a space. You guys are creating a space for the audience. I'm creating a space for the guest where they feel held, where they feel safe. And that's really my job. That's the main thing. And when I am able to do that successfully on the podcast, that's when the magical things start happening. That's when people share things that in my wildest dreams I didn't expect they were going to share about their journeys. I knew there were interesting stories out there, obviously expected to hear some very impactful things, but the depth and the vulnerability just knocked me backwards every time. And so that's really what I focus on, is put everything else aside and just be there in the moment and try to honor what's going on in front of me.
Well, thank you for that. Deborah, as I mentioned at the beginning of the program, I'm about to turn 65. And I want to ask, how has aging experience or life change influenced the way that you care for your body and spirit at this point where you're creating your art?
In 1,000 different ways. I turned 70 last year.
Wow, happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I gave myself a party, which I've never done in my whole life. And the party had a name. It was called My Favorite Things. And the subtitle was Cantaloupe, Chocolate Chip Cookies, and the Sound of Music. I invited a group of close friends to come and eat cantaloupe, chocolate chip cookies, and sing the entire score of The Sound of Music.
Oh, I love it.
Excellent.
That's what we did. I mean, we sang, we everybody danced in their seats or whatever. Age to me is saying, is about wisdom. And what is the wisdom of a life? And part of that wisdom is finding joy, is acknowledging that we have needs and it's okay to have those needs. I haven't become a gym rat as per se, but I am very conscious of health and maintaining my health. My father died at 70, so I'm very conscious. And he was diagnosed with a surprising disease, not the thing that he had been treated for many years. And when he got this diagnosis, he simply folded his tents and waited to die. He did not allow himself to live for the last 18 months of the life he had. And so that really has profoundly affected me. So this has been the year of saying yes. I have said yes to every opportunity that has come my way.
Love you for that. That's great.
Whether it's travel, whether it's singing, somebody says, can you sing a song in such and such? I'm like, tell me when to be there. I will be there. You invite me to be part of a podcast. I am like, yes, sir. So saying yes. And the other piece of that is that as a congregational rabbi, I met many people who retired and then had unbelievably fulfilling second acts, not necessarily second careers, but second acts. They were busy, vibrant, filled with life, and they inspired me. I mean, it's part of the reason that at 58, I said, I was a rabbi for 35 years. I loved it. I absolutely loved what I did. And I had this in me, and I felt the need to say yes to cabaret, to singing all the time or as much as I could. And that's what I've been doing. So I am very mindful of health at this moment in my life.
Well, Karen Ebb said it best. Life keeps happening every day. Say yes.
That's me.
I love that. Terry, what practices, whether it be movement, rest, community, therapy, spirituality, have become non-negotiable for you as a working artist?
I think it's mental rest. I think I mentioned that I had a career change, not because of anything that I wanted, but I'm doing something totally different now. And what I do is with my new job, I'm able to go home and forget about, or not even think about work. And that mentally helps me. Like the stress level in my old job, it was my shoulders lived at my ears. And now I just come home and I'll listen to music and I'll work on some songs and I don't have to think about anything. So for me, it's all about mentally resting, because we know we need it now more than anything. So it's just everything rolling off and just going home and hanging out with my dog and just mentally resting.
Great. Kristen, do you remember the first words that you wrote for your first book?
Oh, God.
Mm.
No. Not at all.
Well, I asked that question because I want to ask, what advice would you offer to younger artists about building a creative life that is not only productive, but healthy and sustainable? And of course, your lane that you're in is writing, but overall, based on everything you've learned about other artists.
Wow, that is a good one. So I would say that in order, you have to keep growing, you have to keep learning, I have to keep listening to cast recordings, I have to keep seeing shows, I have to keep reading what's coming next, because I want to stay abreast of what's happening. In I can't, though I would consider myself to be in kind of the golden age niche, like that's kind of my favorite era to study. That's where I'm most comfortable. But I can't just say, well, I don't care what's happening on Broadway right now. What difference does that make to me? Right. I have to, if I'm going to look at history, I need to be looking at the future as well. And looking
Thank you.
at the present as well. Right. In order so that I can say, okay, guys, I can predict what might come down the pike because I know what has already happened. So I think that for me, just staying engaged with everything that's happening on Broadway, but also at the same time, that seems kind of academic and kind of rote to just like be sure I read the New York Times or whatever, but also to be sure that I'm still partaking of art, right? Still enjoying art, still like I said, still seeing shows, still going to cabaret, still listening to cast recordings, all of those things that made me, do what I do. I have to keep doing those things, or otherwise it's like a gas tank. It'll just empty out, and I'll forget why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I think, Richard, listening to some of those, doing that podcast episode that you heard that yours is airing on Sunday, was so fun because I got to go back and listen to all these years of cast recordings and remember the time and how those songs changed my life and how they shaped the trajectory of my life, right? And there's still more songs to be written. So I want to keep listening, right? I want to keep hearing what's coming next.
Well, the show that we're doing that's airing on Sunday is Jerry Herman, a celebration.
Nice.
And Donald had me choose one song from every Jerry Herman musical.
Ooh.
And it was not easy. It was
I bet.
not easy. But some of my selections will surprise a lot of people, especially Hello, Dolly. The song that I picked will surprise a lot of people. I want to thank you all for being here today. And I'm going to give each and every one of you a chance to have your final word. It could be about anything that we spoke about today that you want to build upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any final message that you want to leave everyone with. When you finish, I'm going to pick the first person, and when you finish, you will pick the next person, and so on. And when the last person says goodbye, I will end the show. So you don't have to worry about how do I get out of here. I'll take care of that. But I want to thank everybody who said yes. That's the operative word today. All of you who said yes to being here. All of you who said yes to being watching the show. Check these women out. Check out what they're doing. If you're able, attend their shows. Go out and celebrate each and every one of them. Something that I want everyone watching to do, and all of you ladies to do the same thing, if you don't mind. On Facebook, hit the like button, leave a comment, share, and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Those 4 tasks increase the algorithms in terms of how many people will find this show. So it's all very, very important. I am going to be away for the next 2 Fridays because I'm going to be in Palm Springs doing my show, celebrating 65 years on this planet. So if any of you are in Palm Springs on February 11th, come and spend the evening with me. I'm going to be back in New York, And on February 27th, I'm back at the Laurie Beachman. So come and celebrate that night with me if you're able to.
Don't miss his show, whether you're in Palm Springs or New York. I've been to it a few times. It is fabulous. Fabulous.
Amen.
Thank you. And I paid her to say that. So,
Well, I better see the money.
But I have a message that I leave every show with, and that's to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. I know all of you have this little device. I'm back on Facebook. Go to your Facebook friends list, and the 9th name that pops up in that little square of 9, reach out to that person tonight with a phone call. Not an email message, not a text message, not a private inbox message, a phone call. And if you don't have their phone number, question why they're there in the first place. Phone number. So reach out. I have a dear friend, Sean Moniger, who's coming for dinner tonight. And Sean Moniger, Sean Moniger always says, we're all in the same storm, but we're in different size boats. And I always say, I don't care what size boat you're on, as long as you have a skipper by your side. And with that, I'm going to leave the screen. And Terry, I'm turning it over to you.
Oh, okay. Hello and goodbye soon. But I just want to say everybody should live their dreams to give them the best joy that they possibly can have, because it just makes life so grand. Okay. Oh, do I pick the next person?
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Kristen.
Okay, so I would just say thank you, Richard, first of all, for having us. This was so wonderful, and I loved hearing each of your stories, and I can feel the support of each of you, and I send the same to each of you. And I would say also happy birthday to Richard, and also would just say, it's never too late. Right? I think each of us have a part of our story is it's never too late. So whatever that little germ of a passion is that's inside of you, it can burn bright no matter your age. So never let that go. And I would pass it to Shanti.
Awesome. Thank you. Just thinking about, my connection to the arts and music on my podcast, I have a segment called It's My Podcast, so there will be music. Because if it's my podcast, there's absolutely going to be music. And I ask the guests, if there were one song you could put in a time capsule and preserve at all costs for future generations, what would it be and why? And we're creating a Spotify playlist with that. But it just speaks to me. I think that music and the arts, like storytelling, really get to the heart of our humanity. And just the power of what you are creating in the world, all of the guests that I'm so glad to have met today. I have so much respect for, and it's really a pleasure to have been a part of this conversation. So thank you. Anne.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to go back to a question that Richard had asked about, how to encourage people in how to pursue their career. And it's not just theater; it's any career. But I think that it's hard to hear this for you young people, but the impatience of narrowing your attention to just the thing that you want is probably the thing that's going to be the biggest obstacle for you. Because whether you're a lawyer or a doctor or a performer, all the different facets of life that are presented to you is your learning ground. And you can feel free to be impatient about wanting to if you use it as a catalyst to just go out and experience life. But I really hope that you understand that the more broad you think, the more experiences you've had, the more things that you have been subjected to, even your mistakes. Instead of regretting them, just forgive yourself and promise not to do it again, because that mistake is going to someday be like the best thing that could have happened to you at some other time in your life. So that's what I hope for all of you. And my plug for my show, where I'm celebrating 10 years, is called Love for Sale. There's a double entendre to that. And I would love to see you. My shows are February 11th at 7 and February 14th, Valentine's Day at 4. And if you can come, I would so love to see you there. We kept the price really, really inexpensive, particularly for the MAC members, $10 for 10 years. So, all right, Deborah. Deborah's wonderful. Go for it, Deborah.
Oh, Anne, I feel the same way about you. And Richard, so thank you so much for today and for all that you do. It's a wonderful thing. And I think that's the message, that what we're doing, whether we're singing, whether we're researching, whether we're having guests at a podcast, we're making a difference. What we do. And I love that. I love being part of a community that cares about other people, that cares about the world. And the world is a complicated place. So that's why when I can, as I'm doing on February 8th, I'm dedicating the funds that are raised from that show to this rebuilding of the synagogue in Jackson. And I want to put a little plug in for March 30th when I'm doing my next program, the Chocolate Seder Cabaret, the 4th annual. And I'm not sure whether that's going to be raising funds for the alleviation of hunger or helping in the immigration process, both for people who need our support. And that's what music does. It makes a difference. So thank you, Richard. Thank you to the other women who were so wonderful to be with. I love the community that we're part of. Have a great rest of the day, a fine weekend. Stay warm and safe. Take care. Bye-bye.